he quit. His CEO revealed, "I accept your resignation, but losing you is unacceptable forever." Andrew sat frozen at his desk in the heart of his high-rise office, the glossy skyline of Chicago twinkling through the glass walls like a distant promise. The flicker of his computer screen barely registered as his mind raced, Tom's call echoing ominously in his ears. Firing without cause, a scandal he never anticipated. The walls of ambition felt like they were closing in around him as he contemplated the turbulent ethical unrest stirring beneath the polished surface of his prestigious architectural firm. He felt trapped, breathing irregularly, and with each passing minute, the hefty weight of his own corporate successes felt hollow. His hands trembled at the thought of what it would mean to resign. The family obligations gnawed at him, the fear of his daughter Sarah's dreams slipping through his fingers like grains of sand. How could he risk everything for justice when every dollar counted? Yet, in the pit of his stomach, an insatiable yearning churned. A dream to create sustainable housing for low-income families. Desperation and determination morphed into a flicker of bravery. Maybe finally he'd do something meaningful. "Andrew!" The harsh call from his supervisor jerked him from his spiraling thoughts. But there were no meetings or brainstorming sessions, just trepidation raging within. He envisioned Sarah's college aspirations, the bills progressively stacking like towering city structures. Her laughter echoed in his memory, reminding him of the traditions they'd built amidst his demanding career. Sunday brunches at their favorite diner, where they'd share dreams and laughter while raindrops painted abstract patterns on the window. But now, uncertainty loomed large. Should he follow through on his gut instinct, or succumb to the pressures that dictated his life until now? Before he could answer, the familiar chime of his phone pierced the air, a sudden urgency cutting through. Maya's name flashed on the screen, the hard-nosed CEO who'd built her empire on integrity. Yet few knew the familial struggles she bore behind closed doors. In the comfort of the well-known diner, she opened up. "I accept your resignation, Andrew," she said, her loyalty unyielding. "But losing you is unacceptable forever." The correlation of her struggles felt surreal, her vulnerability igniting something raw within him. What if they joined forces? Could he rekindle his aspirations through collaboration? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The prospect of pooling their dreams gripped him with weighty hope, yet doubt swirled like storm clouds in his mind. As Maya spoke of a world that desired compassion and integrity, Andrew found himself teetering at the edge, longing for revolutionary change, battling the insistent question in the back of his mind. What if he lost everything in an attempt to become the architect of change? His future felt as precarious as breaking glass. Any sudden movement could shatter it completely. With mounting responsibilities and Sarah's innocent whims about college plans pressing in like a vice, the decisions seemed impossibly intertwined. As their conversation drew to a close, Andrew held the tension within, the weight of a decision pressing heavily on his shoulders. He glanced beyond Maya, watching the rain cascade and blur the world outside, reflected by the longing in his heart. What if he could ignite transformation? But at what cost? With his future hanging in the balance and his dreams too close yet too distant, the question lingered in the air like the last whisper of a breath. Was he ready to fight for meaning, knowing his family's stability could hang by a thread? The following weeks were a blur of chaos and introspection. Andrew spent every waking hour haunted by the decision he had yet to make. The walls of the architectural firm felt more like a gilded cage than a sanctuary of creativity. He pored over sketches and proposals, each blueprint echoing with potential, yet bearing the weight of compromise. The ideas for sustainable housing nagged at the corners of his mind, particularly during moments of quiet, where they pulsed with urgency, almost imploring him to give them life. Sarah's laughter punctured his thoughts like sunlight streaming through dreary clouds. It had always been their shared laughter that brought him clarity amidst chaos. But now, when she spoke about college, her enthusiasm shone a spotlight on his deepest fears. Was he sacrificing her future by entertaining the notion of a risky venture? There were days he could barely sleep, the anxiety swirling as he contemplated how a decision could rewrite the narrative of their lives. One evening, while sipping coffee at the diner where they shared countless memories, Andrew reflected on the conversation with Maya. Her words replayed in his mind like a mesmerizing tune, pulling him toward the beacon of possibilities. He recognized that this wasn't just about him. It was about creating a legacy that could transcend his own aspirations. He needed to harness that energy into a tangible plan, one anchored in their shared values. As he mapped out potential projects, a realization dawned upon him. Every overbearing financial fear was fueled by his own perceptions of security. What if the fiscal risk brought an unexpected reward, not just for him, but for others? Could he become the architect of not just buildings, but of opportunities? With each passing day, his resolve solidified, propelling him to gravitate toward the very change he had been hesitant to embrace. He reached out to Maya, a trembling determination coursing through him as he articulated his vision. He presented her the ideas, housing structures tailored for communities in need, incorporating eco-friendly materials and sustainable practices. As he spoke, Andrew felt a shift, an exhilarating wind beneath his wings. The more he divulged, the clearer it became that this was a partnership rooted in shared values, a mutual thirst for transformative impact that echoed beyond their own achievements. Maya listened, her expression a mixture of pride and contemplation. "You're not just a talented architect, Andrew," she said, her voice steady and unwavering. "You're meant to be a catalyst for change, but this path will not be easy. Are you ready for the challenge?" His gut tightened at her words, the intensity of this newfound purpose electrifying, yet daunting. He hesitated. The stakes were impossibly high. The meeting stretched on, layered with ambition and opportunity, yet they both knew the risks lurking beneath the surface. As they brainstormed next steps, Andrew felt invincible and fragile simultaneously. Could they really forge a venture that felt right and ethical amidst the corporate whirlwind? Leaving the diner that night, Andrew stood under the awning, the rain falling softly. The droplets mirrored the tumult within him. A storm, yes, but a storm filled with potential. Glancing at his phone, he saw a message from Sarah, a simple "Love you, Dad." It struck him, the stark reality of trying to create a better world for her, while simultaneously paradoxically risking it all. The juxtaposition of dreams and doubts danced within him as he unlocked his car and settled into the driver's seat. The vision crystallized in that moment, spark igniting from uncertainty. To venture forward together was to breathe life into his convictions. But how to reconcile the responsibilities that weighed on his shoulders? Could he courageously lead the charge while protecting Sarah's future? As he turned on the engine, the hum of the car resonated like a heartbeat, steady and hopeful, allowing one thought to blossom. The moment had finally arrived for him to confront his fears head-on. But where would that confrontation lead him? Would this journey unravel into prosperity or peril? The thrill of the unknown tightened its grip, leaving Andrew with a pressing urgency. It was time to act, but the question remained. Was he prepared to shatter the very foundations of his life for a chance at something extraordinary? The next morning brought with it a tangible energy that crackled in the air as Andrew made his way into the office. It felt different, infused with purpose that eclipsed the familiar, suffocating routines. He half expected the doubts to creep back in as he entered the architectural firm, but this time, he was armed with resolve. He would no longer allow the confines of his role to dictate his destiny. Sarah's words rang in his ears. "Just be happy, Dad." What if happiness was not just a byproduct, but a state of purposeful action? His heart raced as he envisioned the conversations he would have today, the changes he intended to catalyze. He could already see Maya's enthusiastic reaction as he recounted the plans, but first he had to straddle two worlds, his current firm and the dream that awaited outside its confines. Before even settling at his desk, Andrew made a beeline to his manager's office, a swirl of anticipation fueling his steps. He knocked and stepped inside, meeting Alan's steady gaze. There had always been a strange admiration in Alan's eyes that mingled with the authority he wielded. Today, he would either unshackle himself or linger in the shadows indefinitely. "Andrew, good to see you," Alan greeted, his brow furrowing ever so slightly. "Everything all right?" "Actually," Andrew began, his voice firm despite the quaking undercurrent, "I need to talk to you about something significant." "Go on." Alan folded his arms, the unspoken challenge evident. Taking a deep breath, Andrew executed his strategy with a clarity that surprised him. "I'm considering leaving the firm. I have a vision for sustainable housing that I want to pursue with Maya," he declared, watching as surprise flickered across Alan's expression. His heart thudded against his ribcage as the words hung heavy in the air. "You're serious?" Alan pressed, eyebrows raised. "Leaving all this? The stability? The recognition?" "The stability is a cage I can no longer tolerate," Andrew replied, his voice steadying. "I want to build something that matters, not just for me, but for communities that need it." The flicker of disappointment in Alan's eyes was tangible. "You realize that this decision will affect your future, don't you? You're at the cusp of something significant here." The weight of those words settled around him, but Andrew felt a shift within, one that prompted him to question the very definition of success. "I appreciate that, Alan, but at what cost? I won't define my life by fear or safety nets." A tense silence fell between them, filled only with the hum of the office outside. "Do you really think this will work? This venture?" Alan asked. There was an edge of concern now, more personal than professional. "I don't just think it'll work. I believe it can change lives," Andrew asserted, feeling the surge of conviction bolster his voice. "I'm willing to risk mine for it." Alan remained momentarily speechless, a furrow creasing his brow. Finally, he broke the silence. "I can't pretend to understand this need of yours, Andrew. But if this is what you truly want, then you have my support. Just know that you might be burning bridges." Andrew nodded affirmatively, though the prospect of burning bridges sent a ripple of anxiety through him. He had one foot in comfort, and the other in the unknown, yet despite the fear, he felt liberated. As he exited the office, adrenaline surged through him, filling the void that doubt had tried to claim. He felt lighter, alive, as if he had shed layers of himself that had grown too heavy. But beneath that exhilaration lay a nagging question. Was it truly possible to transform the conventional without sacrificing the relationships that mattered most? Back at his desk, the sunlight streaming through the glass illuminated the plans spread before him, almost sparkling with promise. Yet despite the clarity surrounding his decision, a weight remained. How would Sarah react if she learned that her father was chasing a dream while walking away from perceived security? Would she understand? Or would the worry creep into her thoughts, maybe painting him as reckless? His phone buzzed, drawing him from contemplation. A text from Maya flashed across the screen. "Can we meet? I have something important to discuss." Andrew's stomach tightened with anticipation. The next step loomed before him, a chance at shaping something tangible, yet the shadows of uncertainty persisted. He needed to confront those fears directly. Was he pursuing a dream, or was he merely unmooring his daughter's sense of stability for a fleeting aspiration? As he contemplated his next move, a single thought crystallized in his mind. The ultimate test of his resolve was just beginning. What awaited him behind Maya's news? And could he manage both a business and a bond that wouldn't shatter under the strain? The journey ahead unfurled like the blueprints he loved so dearly. But would this be the legacy he aspired to build? Or merely another dream left unfulfilled? Andrew arrived at the coffee shop, his heart racing anew. He chose a quiet corner, where the hum of conversation faded into the background. The aroma of roasted beans mingled with the crispness of the morning air, momentarily soothing the chaos swirling in his mind. He focused on the fact that Maya had called to meet, each tick of the clock amplifying his curiosity. What pressing matter could she have? His decision lay heavy on his chest as he mentally prepared for her reaction. Would she share the thrill of pursuing something profound? Or would shock overshadow excitement? When Maya arrived, her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm that momentarily eased his tension. "Hey, I'm glad we could meet," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "I've been working on something that could tie into your vision." "Really?" Andrew felt a spark of hope ignite within him. "I can't wait to hear about it. I just spoke with Alan, and I'm planning to leave the firm." Her eyebrows shot up, a mix of excitement and disbelief streaking across her face. "Wow, Andrew, that's huge, but are you sure? It feels like such a risk." Andrew took a breath, steadying his thoughts. "It is a risk, but it's one I have to take. I want to create something lasting, something that can actually help people rather than just adding designs to luxury skyscrapers." Maya's smile broadened as she leaned in closer, her voice lowering. "I have a concept that could dovetail perfectly with your plan. I've been researching sustainable building materials and community designs that promote environmental consciousness. It could make your vision stronger." The combination of their ideas sparked something deeper in Andrew, a growing vision that was no longer solely his. This felt shared, collaborative. "That sounds amazing. If we combine our resources, we really could build something impactful." "But," Maya hesitated, searching his face for affirmations. "What about the business side of it? Are we ready for that? We might need more backing or investments initially." The weight of her question brought Andrew back down to reality. He had not fully weighed the financial risks of leaving his stable job against the promise of a dream. "Honestly, I'm still figuring that out," he admitted. "But I believe if we're passionate about this, we can find ways to support it. I want this not just to be a financial venture, but a legacy, something to inspire others." As they discussed logistics and instant possibilities, an exhilarating vision began to take shape between them. Yet concerns still clawed at Andrew's mind. What if they failed? What if his desire for autonomy led to consequences that endangered not only his career, but also his relationship with Maya? "I know it's scary," Maya said, pulling him from his thoughts. "But we need to embrace it. Together we can figure out funding, marketing, everything we need." Andrew admired her determination, and although a flicker of doubt remained, he felt emboldened by her faith in their collaboration. Amidst the swirling possibilities, he felt a moment of clarity wash over him. The journey was evolving, reshaping not just his professional trajectory, but how he perceived his own worth and purpose. "Let's map everything out. We can start with a business model, maybe even a prototype of your designs," he said, feeling the surge of a newfound energy. Maya's eyes sparkled. "Yes, let's do it." They spent the next hour brainstorming, environmental diagrams and potential designs sprawling across napkins. Each sketch ignited deeper conversations, unearthing visions of the homes they would one day construct, communities they would support, lives they would transform. Yet, as the excitement enveloped him, a creeping anxiety lingered. The night's uncertainty after making such drastic changes weighed on his mind. "I think we're on the right track," he told Maya, the doubt momentarily indistinct. "But there's one thing I need to confront before we fully dive into this." "What's on your mind?" Maya asked, sensing the shift in his demeanor. I have to talk to Sarah about this, Andrew replied, anxiety writhing in his stomach. I need her to understand why I'm pursuing this change. The impending conversation with his daughter loomed over him like a storm cloud. If he was to venture into the unknown, could he do so with his family's blessing, or would he be sacrificing their connection for the pursuit of something greater? As Maya nodded, their excitement palpable, Andrew knew he was on the brink of something transformative. He would need to be vulnerable, to share both his ambitions and fears in an effort to unite his family with his dream. Could he navigate this new challenge without letting go of the people who mattered most? The answer awaited him, shrouded in uncertainty, on the threshold of their next meeting. Andrew felt the weight of responsibility settle in as he prepared to speak with Sarah. The coffee shop's vibrant energy faded into insignificance, replaced by an internal struggle that intensified with each passing moment. He wasn't just contemplating a career shift, but also recalibrating the dynamics of his family. His desire for independence clashed with the instinctive protective barriers he had built as a father. "Hey, Dad," Sarah greeted him as she stepped into their living room, her cheerfulness standing in stark contrast to the turmoil brewing in his mind. She was unaware of the profound shift he was pondering. "Hey, kiddo, can we sit for a minute? There's something important I want to talk about," he said, motioning toward the couch. The familial warmth felt distant, so he fought to summon the confidence he had nurtured throughout their years together. "Sure," she replied, her brow furrowing slightly. She took a seat, her eyes studying him, reflecting the unspoken questions that hung in the air. Andrew swallowed hard, searching for the right words. "You know how I've been at the firm for the past years, right? Well, I've decided to leave." He paused, allowing her to absorb the weight of what he said. "Leave? But why?" Sarah's face betrayed a mix of shock and concern, her youthful expectations colliding with her father's unforeseen revelation. "I want to start something of my own, Sarah. A venture that focuses on sustainable building, projects that can help the environment and communities," he explained, his voice steadying as he revealed his intentions. Sarah's brow furrowed even more deeply. "But Dad, you've always worked hard for your position. Isn't this too risky?" Andrew felt the familiar pang of doubt creep in. It was as if her words echoed the voices he had fought against within himself. "I know it sounds risky, but it's something I feel deeply passionate about. I want to build a legacy. Not just for me, but for you too," he responded. But his attempts to instill excitement were tempered by the uncertainty reflected in her eyes. "Can't you do both? Stay at the firm and work on this on the side until it's ready? What if it doesn't work out?" She pushed, her concern laced with love. Andrew's internal battle escalated. He could sense the weight of follow-up questions forming in her mind, a growing chasm between their perspectives. "I want to take a leap now. Waiting might make it harder later," he explained, trying to articulate the urgency swelling within him. His pounding heart threatened to overwhelm him. Could he truly convince her of his vision, as he sought her understanding and support? Not risking their relationship felt easier, yet suppressing his aspirations would likely lead to resentment. "Dad, I support you. I do. But I'm just scared. It feels sudden. What if you regret it? What if it puts pressure on us?" Sarah's voice trembled, echoing Andrew's own fears. Amidst her worries, Andrew felt the moments of his own self-doubt intertwining with his daughter's concerns. He needed to manage sentiment, instilling reassurance without dulling the urgency of this new path. "Listen, Sarah," he said, his voice softening. "I need you to trust me. This will require sacrifices, definitely. But it could bring us all the closer in the long run. I want you to be part of this journey, to see how we can create something meaningful." As he spoke, Andrew realized he was not merely paving his own path, but also inspiring Sarah's understanding of risk and passion. Could this open a channel for deeper discussions about their futures together? The room was thick with unspoken reflections, and Andrew sensed a shift within Sarah as she grappled with acceptance. Okay, if this is what you really want, I support you. Just promise you'll keep us in the loop, okay? He exhaled, feeling a lightness accompany her words. With every exchange, he recognized that risk could breed growth, not just for him, but for their relationship as well. Absolutely. I want us to be partners in this, he assured her, invigorated by the trust she was willing to extend. As the conversation unfolded, Andrew felt a surge of determination. He was no longer just navigating the unknown of his career. He was redefining his relationship with his daughter, embracing vulnerability, and discovering deeper layers of connection. Could this relationship grow in tandem with his ambitions? Emerging from their pivotal discussion, Andrew felt buoyed by a renewed sense of purpose, setting the stage for the next chapter of his journey. But the magnitude of what lay ahead loomed larger, as pieces of his plan began to take shape. A daunting realization that soon he would need to confront Alan, his now former mentor. The time had come to face the man who had shaped his career. Would he find a way to leave on amicable terms, or was he destined for confrontation? Andrew stood in front of the mirror, scrutinizing his reflection as he adjusted his collar. Anticipation twisted in his gut, a mix of excitement and dread. Today, he would confront Alan, a man whose influence had shaped not just his career, but his very identity. Deep down, he understood that this meeting was not merely about resigning. It was a reckoning. The mirror reflected not just his physical appearance, but the internal conflict surging within. His decision to leave the firm cast a long shadow, and he couldn't shake the feeling of impending challenge. Entering the office, Andrew's footsteps echoed in the otherwise quiet hallway, amplifying his anxiety. Each step felt heavier than the last. When he reached Alan's office, he found the door slightly ajar. Through the gap, he caught a glimpse of his mentor, immersed in paperwork, the stern expression that was all too familiar. There was a time when he would have entered without hesitation, eager to present ideas or discuss strategies. Today, however, it felt different. He knocked softly. Alan looked up, surprise flickering in his eyes. Andrew, come in. As Andrew stepped inside, the air felt charged with unspoken words. Alan turned his chair, a crease forming between his brows. What's going on? You seem tense. Andrew cleared his throat. I wanted to talk about my resignation. I'm moving on to pursue my own venture. The words tumbled out, but not without the weight of regret. Alan's expression morphed into something unreadable. I see, he finally said, his voice cool but laden with emotion. You're making a mistake. The tension in the room thickened. Andrew felt the urge to defend himself, to explain the drive that propelled him toward this new path, but uncertainty gnawed at him. What if Alan was right? Could he truly abandon all the years spent climbing the corporate ladder? Risky decisions often lead to failure, Alan continued, his tone firm. The sharpness of his words felt like a rebuke. You have stability here, Andrew, a successful career. Why throw it all away? Andrew grappled with the familiar voice of doubt that tried to overshadow his resolve. But choosing to stay means not pursuing what I'm passionate about, he countered, recalling the fire ignited in him during conversations with Sarah. Alan leaned forward, his gaze piercing. Passion is essential, but so is practicality. You'd be leaving behind your support network, your foundation. You think you'll have an easy time in the unknown? As the tension mounted, Andrew realized that this wasn't solely about career aspirations. It was a confrontation rooted in the values they both held. I've felt stagnant, he admitted, forcefully channeling his insecurities into clarity. I can't let fear dictate my future. If I don't take this chance now, I might never. Alan's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of understanding breaking through. I understand the desire to break free. But I've always believed, What you believe doesn't encapsulate what I need, Andrew interrupted, senses heightened. It struck him that this conversation teetered on a knife's edge. He didn't want an adversarial relationship, yet he couldn't allow Alan's fears to tether him. Then what do you need? Alan pressed, his challenge aimed directly at Andrew's convictions. I need to build something meaningful, something that reflects my values and passion, Andrew stated, passion surging within him. I want to create a legacy, something rooted in sustainability that can contribute positively. The silence that framed Andrew's declaration hung in the air, punctuated only by the faint hum of fluorescent lights. A part of him feared the next words from Alan, knowing that surrendering was never easy for either of them. Yet, there was a stirring, an unexpected glimmer of possibility. Alan regarded him thoughtfully. If this is what you genuinely want, I won't stand in your way. But understand this. Leaving something comfortable can lead to regret. Time lost that you will never get back. The exchange pivoted onto unfamiliar territory. This was no longer merely a resignation. It had become a turning point, influencing not just Andrew's journey, but potentially resetting how they each perceived risk, stability, and growth. Thank you, Alan, Andrew replied, a blend of camaraderie and sorrow flooding his voice. He wondered if this moment would drift into bitterness or serve as a bridge to mutual respect. As he left the office with Alan's earlier warning reverberating in his mind, Andrew felt a realization settle in. This was more than a departure. It marked a transformation in how he viewed mentorship. But would he navigate this next chapter without looking back? He glanced out at the bustling city below, almost feeling the pulse of potential energy rising from the streets. Yet, doubt still lingered in the corners of his mind. With a deep breath, he stepped outside, ready to embark on the journey ahead. Little did he know, the consequences of his decision would reach further than he anticipated, entwining his fate with Alan in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. His next challenge loomed, a crucial meeting with potential investors who held the keys to his vision. Would they see the value in his dreams? Or would he face rejection that mirrored the stark realities Alan had warned him about? The air outside felt electric, a stark contrast to the sterile confines of the office Andrew had just left. Each breath he took filled him with both exhilaration and anxiety as he navigated the bustling streets beneath a flat gray sky. The weight of his decision pressed on his shoulders, an anchor amidst the chaos of his thoughts. He had said he wanted to create something meaningful, but the tangible form this vision would take was still shrouded in uncertainty. The memory of Alan's solemn words echoed in his mind. Leaving something comfortable can lead to regret. Regret. It was a word that had latched onto his consciousness, wrapping around his resolve, squeezing it tight. Each time he deliberated on the path ahead, it crept back in like an unwanted guest at a celebration. As Andrew walked aimlessly for a few blocks, a nagging thought pursued him. Did he truly possess the skills to make his vision a reality? He found himself questioning whether his years spent in the corporate arena had truly equipped him for entrepreneurship. Were the late nights and weekend projects mere distractions from his true calling, or had they been training for this very moment? With each step, he felt an inner conflict emerging. Yes, his corporate experience had shaped his analytical approach to strategy. But would that be enough? He had always relied on a team of individuals, experienced voices to bounce ideas off of and collaborate with. Now, the responsibility lay solely on him. As he turned the corner, his phone buzzed in his pocket. The message was from Sarah, encouraging him to meet at a local coffee shop, a familiar place intertwined with the creativity and motivation Andrew often sought. He accepted, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within him. Perhaps a conversation with her could shed light on his spiraling thoughts. Sitting across from her, the cozy atmosphere wrapped around him like a warm blanket. The scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air as they exchanged small talk, but Andrew's mind wandered, a million questions stacked atop one another. "Something's on your mind," Sarah observed, her brows furrowing gently. Andrew hesitated, assessing the situation while sipping his drink. How to articulate this mix of excitement, fear, and doubt? It's just, I'm overwhelmed by leaving my job. I mean, I feel this pull to pursue my own venture, but every moment I picture it, I hear Alan's voice warning me about regret. Regret is a tricky beast, Sarah replied, leaning in. But think about it. Every day we do something without the possibility of failure is a day we're not truly living. Isn't there beauty in the risk? Her perspective, simple yet profound, prompted Andrew to confront the core of his hesitations. I worry I won't be able to adapt as an entrepreneur. What if I do this and it fails? Failure is not just a possibility, it's also a teacher, she said, nodding. But why don't you flip it? What will you learn if you succeed? What skills have you built that could apply to your venture? Her questions illuminated his path like headlights cutting through fog. The very experience he doubted was layered with expertise and adaptability. Brainstorming strategies was second nature to him. He had flourished in roles that demanded critical thinking and innovation. Those were the pieces he needed to assemble for his startup, a puzzle he now felt willing to tackle. His heart raced as he smiled at Sarah, realization dawning like the sun breaking through clouds. I can leverage everything I've learned. This isn't just a departure. It's a whole new game. I'll find the right people who believe in my vision. The conversation strengthened his resolve, planting seeds of possibility where only doubt had lingered. They spent the next hour drafting ideals and concepts, the two of them blending their creativity with Andrew's business sense. A surge of clarity flowed through him as they outlined potential strategies, igniting a passion he hadn't fully embraced earlier. As they wrapped up, an urgency gripped Andrew's thoughts. With newfound conviction, he realized the meeting with investors wasn't just a matter of persuasion. It was a test of his dedication to his dream. This was the moment he needed to seize. But as he made his way home that evening, excitement coursed through him, mingling with apprehension. The stakes were higher than he anticipated, and the shadow of uncertainty loomed, waiting for his next misstep. The time had come to face not only the challenges ahead, but the fear that had always accompanied dreams. Would he rise to the occasion, or would doubt paralyze him once more? Destiny awaited. One meeting could change everything, but would he be prepared to embrace the risk? The morning after his meeting with Sarah, Andrew woke to find the shadows of his uncertainty still clinging to him. The city's bustle filtered through his window, a faint reminder of the world moving while he grappled with his choices. The clock ticked steadily, each second nudging him closer to a pivotal moment in his life. He had a meeting scheduled with potential investors in just a few hours, and nerves twisted his stomach into knots. He donned a crisp blazer, its fabric stiffer than his resolve. As he scrutinized his reflection, an eerie sense of disconnect washed over him. Was this man truly ready to dream big, or was he merely masquerading in borrowed confidence? Andrew took a deep breath, forcing himself to envision a conversation filled with enthusiasm, a conversation where his ideas glowed brightly enough to captivate even the most skeptical minds. In the quiet of his kitchen, as he sipped a cup of coffee that tasted faintly bitter, he traced the outline of his business plan on the table, inked on wrinkled sheets that mirrored his anxiety. The ideas were ambitious, revolutionary even, yet shadows of doubt threatened to eclipse them. His fingers brushed across the pages, feeling the weight of each decision he'd drafted. Gathering his thoughts, Andrew began to write down a list of reasons that drove him to this point. The desire to bring innovation, the chance to define his own future, and a yearning to carve a path that resonated with his values. This exercise felt like digging a trench in the chaos of his mind, a channel through which clarity could flow. Yet, amid his reflection, a new question emerged. What if his vision was more than just personal ambition? What if it represented a chance to inspire others? He thought of those who might stand by him aside from Sarah, the friends, former colleagues, and even strangers who shared a collective dream for something better. As he descended into this thought, the external environment shifted. The heavy gray sky transformed into sporadic bursts of light as the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the world outside his window. In that moment of brightness, his internal landscape shifted too. This realization infused him with hope, but it also highlighted the magnitude of his impending meeting. Was he ready to expose his dreams to scrutiny? Arriving at the meeting venue, he noticed the vibrations of ambition reverberating in the air around him. Each investor's presence carried a tangible weight, individuals who had made their way through trials and transformations. Somehow, their stories felt tied to his. As he entered the meeting room, the air shifted. He could almost hear the whisper of opportunity beckoning him forward. Once seated, Andrew felt his heart race. He started to present with enthusiasm, talking passionately about his vision, but with each passing moment, he sensed doubt. Not in the ideas he pitched, but in the silence that hung like a cloud above the investors' heads. Their poker faces betrayed nothing, yet Andrew's instinct urged him to connect, to see beyond the exterior and reveal the core of his aspirations. Just then, the lead investor leaned forward, a slight smile forming on his lips. "You speak well of what you dream to create, Andrew. But let me ask you this. What experience do you have that assures us you'll navigate this journey successfully?" The question struck Andrew like a thunderbolt. It laid bare his transition from an employee to an entrepreneur, making the innate fear of losing everything surface. Suddenly, he was not just confronting their skepticism, he was pitted against his own. He paused, heart pounding. In that silence, he confronted a profound realization. It wasn't merely about the business plan. It was about his authenticity, his capacity to adapt, and to embrace the learning curve ahead. "I've built skills that will adapt well," Andrew began. "But perhaps more importantly, I have the hunger to learn from every challenge." In that moment of honesty, something within him shifted. He understood now that he couldn't be perfect. He just needed to be present, fully aware of both his limitations and strengths. The tension in the room thickened, yet he felt a flicker of hope ignite as he continued, unveiling his passion in waves. But as the meeting progressed, the investors posed more probing questions, each drawing him deeper into an introspective vortex. What began as optimism started to fray at the edges, revealing an underlying fear that could collapse his nascent foundations. Would they see his potential, or would his inexperience overshadow everything he sought to build? As he left the meeting, both exhilarated and drained, the day lay ahead uncertain, yet filled with promise. He had faced an audience of skeptics, laid bare his aspirations, and exposed his vulnerabilities. But now he was left to ponder. What if they didn't share his vision? What if all this effort led to disappointment? Andrew's steps echoed one question distinctly. Was he prepared to face failure, knowing it could become a teaching moment? Beyond the looming doubt, adrenaline surged. The journey was destined to challenge him in ways beyond his understanding. The moment had passed, but its repercussions lingered. His next steps would dictate not just the trajectory of his professional life, but the very essence of who he was becoming. Just as clarity dawned, uncertainty cast a fresh shadow. Would success or failure greet him at the finish line? But one thing was clear. He could no longer avoid the chance to explore what lay ahead. The clock was ticking, and decisions loomed like footprints leading down a path unknown. By the time Andrew returned home, the evening sky painted a vivid display of oranges and reds, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling within him. The day's adrenaline slowly receded, leaving behind a sense of clarity intertwined with doubt. He dropped his bag onto the floor and sank onto the couch, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on him. His mind raced through the events of the meeting. There had been a moment, a crucial moment, when he felt he'd connected, when he'd uttered those words about his hunger to learn. Yet the question remained whether that was enough to sway the investors, whether it demonstrated the depth of his commitment. The thought gnawed at him. Was it folly to think that passion alone could lay the foundation of a successful venture? As he scrolled through his phone, searching for a distraction, He noticed a notification from a professional networking site. A former colleague, someone he respected immensely, had shared an article titled, "Navigating the Uncharted Waters of Entrepreneurship, Essential Skills for the Bold." Curiosity piqued. He opened it and began reading. The author outlined attributes crucial for success: adaptability, resilience, and a willingness to embrace failure as part of the journey. The words struck a chord. Andrew had always been fixated on the end goal, the success he envisioned, but perhaps he hadn't focused enough on the process. Did he truly understand what it meant to adapt? To pivot? To fail forward? The article infused him with a newfound energy. Andrew bolted upright, grabbed his notebook, and started drafting a plan. One part of the journey was behind him, but each setback could serve as a stepping stone. He scribbled down the skills he had honed over the years, experiences that could translate into his new venture, the negotiation tactics learned from years in sales, the marketing strategies picked up during brainstorming sessions, and even the interpersonal skills that stemmed from collaborating across departments. Yet, as he wrote, doubt whispered in the back of his mind. Was he adequately equipped for the turbulent waters ahead? That quandary soon morphed into a moral dilemma. Would he seek mentors who could guide him, or should he try to carve this path independently, risking the possibility of isolation? The next morning, armed with determination, he decided to reach out to those mentors. He drafted a few messages that resonated with transparency, revealing his vulnerabilities, along with his aspirations for growth. This was a significant step. He had always viewed asking for help as weakness. But that night had taught him otherwise. The journey was not a solitary one. He sent messages to 3 industry veterans he respected, each possessing unique expertise. The responses trickled in gradually. While the first 2 messages were polite but unyielding, the third elicited a warm reply. "Andrew, I'd love to catch up. It's been too long since we last spoke." Relief washed over him. Someone was willing to invest their time and wisdom into his journey. As the days passed, Andrew found himself embroiled in deep conversations that unveiled new perspectives. He realized mentoring forged a connection that transcended his initial doubts, and the more he engaged, the more aware he became of his blind spots. Unexpected turns of discussions revealed latent competencies, illuminated by the insights of others. Yet with each interaction came the reminder of his meeting's aftermath, the ongoing uncertainty about the investor's decision weighing heavily on him. The nagging fear that loomed overhead remained. What if they ultimately chose not to support his vision? That question loomed larger after one call when one mentor advised him. Sometimes it's the inability to let go of a plan that dooms it. Let your ideas evolve. Don't let fear of failure curtail your creativity. Was he willing to embrace that philosophy? What if it meant abandoning previous strategies he had believed defined his path? Confronting this dilemma, he felt a pull toward a fundamental truth he couldn't ignore. He was not merely an idea or a business plan. He was a person filled with complexities and potential. The very essence of what he could become depended on his willingness to adapt and grow. Standing at the brink of multiple futures, Andrew took a deep breath and prepared to choose. As he thought about his next steps, a message came through, an email from the investors. The subject line flashed like a beacon of hope. "Follow up on your presentation." Heart racing, Andrew clicked it open, knowing it could usher in a new wave of uncertainty or validation. But as the words formed on the screen, it became clear. The moment of truth was finally at hand. Would it elevate him, or would it push him deeper into the shadows of doubt? As Andrew read the email, it felt as if time suspended entirely. His breath caught in his throat while the words blurred before him. "Thank you for your presentation, Andrew. We were impressed with your vision and would like to discuss the next steps." Relief washed over him like a tide, lifting the weight of anxiety that had been his constant companion. They were willing to engage further. This could now become a partnership grounded in shared ambition. Andrew's unwavering resolve illuminated his path ahead. He had faced myriad challenges, but each one of them had prompted a deeper understanding of himself, a newfound confidence in his abilities. The very act of putting his ideas into the world had catalyzed transformation within him. No longer was he merely the architect of buildings, he was becoming the architect of change. He understood that each encounter, each late-night conversation with his mentors, had fortified him in ways he hadn't anticipated. Doubts had initially tethered him, but now they were mere echoes of his journey. The days that followed transformed into a whirlwind of excitement and preparation. Andrew dove deep into developing his pitch for the investors' follow-up meeting, armed with insights gathered from his newfound network and a determination that felt unshakable. He meticulously crafted each slide, intertwining statistics with heartfelt narratives that communicated the profound impact of his proposed sustainable housing. For the first time, he was not just selling his vision, he was sharing a part of himself, rooted in purpose and the need to innovate beyond the traditional boundaries of architecture. By intertwining personal stories with solid data, Andrew showcased the genuine desire to create community spaces that would empower families and breathe life into neighborhoods. As he stood outside the meeting room on the day of the follow-up, his heart pulsed with fervor. No longer was he overwhelmed by fear. Instead, he embraced the thrill of possibility. The journey ahead was not devoid of risk, but it was precisely that risk that fueled his ambition. When he entered, he found the panel of investors waiting for him, their faces reflecting a mixture of interest and skepticism. Stepping forward, he exuded confidence. "Thank you for this opportunity. I'm thrilled to connect again and share further insights into my vision." With each word, he brought to life the importance of sustainable housing, how it could shift paradigms, not just in architecture, but in nurturing communities. He presented data that illuminated the positive environmental impact, weaving in stories of families he had met during his research. He recognized that he was not just pitching an idea, he was advocating for a movement. Their hushed attention ignited his passion, allowing him to connect deeply with the purpose behind what he was proposing. Concluding with a call to action, he asked not just for financial backing, but for the investors to join him in a mission to change lives. Together, they could build something extraordinary. After he finished, there was a pause, a loaded silence filled with unspoken thoughts. Then one of the investors leaned forward. "You've clearly put a lot of heart into this, Andrew. We can see your vision is more than just business. It's personal." In that moment, Andrew felt an overwhelming sense of validation wash over him. This was not merely about winning support. It was a testament to the journey he had undertaken, the tumultuous path he had navigated, which had transformed him into a person of conviction and purpose. As the investors engaged in discussion, Andrew felt a calm he hadn't anticipated. Whatever their decision, he had emerged stronger, grounded in his identity and purpose. He realized that the essence of success was not merely the outcome, but the transformative journey that led him here. Weeks passed, and with each prospect and challenge brought forth by this new venture, Andrew continued to evolve. He established a team, rallied supporters, and dove headfirst into creating plans for sustainable housing that resonated with both community impact and environmental consciousness. Yet, amidst significant growth and achievement, Andrew did not lose sight of the personal fulfillment this journey offered him. Each building project echoed the legacy he hoped to leave for Sarah. As she observed his transformation, they often engaged in conversations about aspirations and dreams, cultivating an atmosphere of ambition around their family dinner table. Andrew's confidence solidified him in the professional arena, while bridging connections with local communities. His dreams were no longer vague desires, but tangible realities, threaded through every blueprint sketched and every project completed. His vision aligned with a clarity he had long sought, guiding him toward a purpose that felt both profound and rewarding. And then, standing on the site of what would soon be the first sustainable home his firm built, Andrew took a moment to soak it all in. The laughter of children echoed in the distance, and the smiles of families filled him with a profound sense of achievement. This was the culmination of bravery wrapped in action, the very investment he had made in not just buildings, but in lives. As he envisioned a future where such homes became a staple, Andrew found himself in a state of fulfillment that surpassed professional accolades. He had transformed fear into courage, vulnerability into strength, and in doing so, he laid the groundwork for a legacy that would transcend generations. He marveled at how far he had come, from sitting frozen at his desk, contemplating loss, to standing firmly in the realization of dreams. This was more than just architecture. This was a movement, and for Andrew, the journey became a testament to the power of pursuing meaning over mere success. In that moment, he understood. He was not merely shaping structures, but lives, through courage, passion, and unwavering determination. Now, you have the chance to embark on your own journey of transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support for personal overcoming stories. Don't wait even one more second to share.